What's up, everybody? It's Matt Johnson. We are back with another episode of Real Estate Uncensored. This is the place where you get actionable ideas, insight, and inspiration to turn your real estate career into a life of freedom. We have a wonderful guest with us today. Kathleen Black is back with us. She is one of our fantastic repeat guests and repeat for a reason. So we are talking all about overcoming mental roadblocks to success, both as a top producing agent and as a team leader. So whether you are an aspiring top producer, whether you're already a mega producer, and maybe you have a team of 5, 10, 50 people, we don't care. This is going to be applicable to you. So we've got a lot of stuff to jump into. We're going to talk a little bit about lead conversion up at the top of the show, so stay tuned for that. Before that, the junior grandmaster himself, back in the box where you so belong. Greg McDaniel, what's up today?
Oh, man, why are you always going to be shunning me? Always just kicking me back to my box. Thought we were like homies, you want to hang out, but no.
Because when you and I sit on the same stage together, it's very obvious that you're a man bear. You're like 6'5", and I am a normal-sized human. But when I stand next to you on stage, I look like I tried out for wide receiver and couldn't get over the line that you must be this tall.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
But, dude, I'm so blessed. Oh, dude, our guest, Kathleen, she's awesome. I mean, you guys haven't seen her other show. You've got to go back and watch her other show. But, man, I know those things about when you start really life hacking yourself and you start filling in those gaps in your life and filling them in with good stuff where you didn't have good stuff before. I spent the last hour and a half out walking. I walked us to your second home, Starbucks, walking and talking with one of my coaching clients, Ryan, and his wife, Monica. They're a team in Colorado, and they were at a Discord of where they wanted to be in their goal for the year. But we were able to come up with a compromise, got them on track. We set up goals, we got them on track together. And by the time we got off the call, they were so pumped. They were moving in the same direction. I could see the difference in the way that they were interacting together. It's such a blessing to have the opportunity to work with people that are willing to put in the hard work and be able to make a difference in their lives. It is truly awesome, and that's all thanks to the podcast with people like our guests that come on that are just amazing. So we are blessed. Thank you guys for watching. Now let's rock and roll.
That's right. All right, well, Kathleen, officially welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Happy to be back. Appreciate it.
And for those that might have missed your previous episodes and all the stuff that we've done together, tell people a little bit about your company and what you guys do and your background.
Yeah, so the company is Kathleen Black Coaching and Consulting. But what we do is we focus on business building. I mean, our niche is team development. So it's going on 10 years now, which seems crazy, of full-time coaching with top producers to become teams. So same thing, very blessed that a lot of the people I worked with years ago are now, mega teams, very, very successful. So 80% of our team coaching clients are top 1% in their brands nationally. So we're extremely happy about that. But we also coach with individual agents looking to build a team. We do training programs online that are very in line with, vision, values, goals, mindset, what we're talking about today, because I just find mindset to be critical. And that's what I'm really passionate about. When you can have somebody see their life differently and make changes and feel fulfilled. I mean, that's what it's really about. Real estate just happens to be, the industry that we have some extra systems and tools to match with the mindset work we do. So yeah, I mean, that's what we're all about, I guess.
Awesome. I love it. And you kind of, one of the reasons why I wanted to bring a couple of questions up on converting leads is because this is part of what made your initial reputation. Is you really specialized and dove deep into what it takes to convert, especially online leads, into deals. So there was a couple questions that stuck out to me that I want to throw at you real quick before we get into the mental roadblock stuff, because I know there's a lot of people out there, they're paying for, one of the questions here is for ZBuyer, but there's all kinds of people out there who are throwing a little bit of money out there to do Facebook ads to generate leads, or they're going up and they're paying, let's say, Zillow, Realtor.com, Trulia, whatever the case is. And there's, obviously in Canada, there's some different options as well. But have you found that there needs to be different, especially wildly different scripts for following up with different types of leads? Because I feel like agents psych themselves out a lot. Are they on the right track and everything needs to be different, or should everything be the same?
Well, I think, you can have the most powerful scripts and systems and tools. And if you're not confident and you don't have belief and you don't have intention when you get on a call, you're not going to be powerful. And the most powerful people I know who deal with online leads, it's because they've mastered and internalized the best communication practices. So they're able to get out of their head and fully focus on the person they're talking to. And I mean, all of us know what it's like to talk to somebody who it's like, okay, it's as if they, there's no one else in the room. That's what they're like on a phone, right? Like they're able to have that gift of making people feel their attention and that they're listening, they're building rapport. It's all about that other client. And if you're at a place where you still need to think about your script, or what do I say next, or what's that next nuance, you're already out of the game, at least where the top people are finding the best conversion. So to answer your question, I mean, do we have set scripts? Yes. Like when there's onboarding for an inside sales agent, onboarding for a new recruit on a team, we have a list of our core scripts that we have to know. Some of them have to be memorized. Some of them just are the core principles. But when it comes to the specific first time, new lead, online lead we're calling, yes, we have one specific, outbound script that we work with that's built based on certain principles. But all of the marketing flows into a set conversion system, and all of the conversion flows into the same kind of sifting and sorting process. So even when it goes into follow-up after, we're still, again, it's very aligned in what are we trying to get to? What are those magic terms where we book an appointment? What are those magic terms where we book a follow-up? And when should we just say, hey, we wish you well, but we're not going to be doing business right now. So we say goodbye. Yeah, we would funnel them into set scripts based on marketing type. So we have 2 key start of call scripts for new leads based on marketing. And then we have, our follow-up and all of our different offers, all that fun stuff.
Yeah. And what I like about that is that, if you're a team leader, that's extremely helpful, because then you know exactly what the strategy is that other top teams are using. But if you're an agent that's listening to this and you are, whether you're a top producer yet or not, that just gave you the answer to not psyching yourself out. The top teams are not using a specific script for every different, type of lead source. And I would say Jeff Cohn, who's proven it over well over 100,000 calls a year that they've tracked for each of the last, I think, 3 years. They found that the best thing to do is exactly that. You take all your leads, even your sphere leads, and this is where a lot of their agents get tripped up, is that the people in our spheres need that same level of attention and follow-up when they first reach out and express interest, as, let's say, a new internet lead might. And so you want to just throw everybody into kind of the same follow-up process and just can't handle it the same way and don't psych yourself out.
Yeah, and I agree. The sphere does psych people out. They'll say, but, it's a friend, it's a family member. I'll say, I might lighten it up, right? Like I might have different rapport because I know them and I'm going to add other things in, but I'm still going to work all the same questions and all the same positioning to make sure that the appointment's strong, even when it's center of influence. And often, there's a school of thought that, why would our center of influence deserve any less when it comes to level of service, or, what type of consultations we would do or what questions we would ask on the phone, right? For sure.
Yeah, and Greg, I want to get your perspective on this, because there's a thing. I think Dan Kennedy calls it skipping steps, right? Where we, especially with Sphere, I think we have a tendency, we assume that they know probably way more than they know about us. We assume that they trust us probably way more than they actually do.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like we skip, we use our Sphere leads as kind of an excuse to skip a lot of steps, when it would actually be better to kind of put them through the same process so we don't make an ass of ourselves.
Yeah, a lot of the times we make the assumption of oh man, I did business with them, a couple years ago. They'll come back to me, but you haven't talked to them since you worked with them last. We have the assumption made that, well, since I did such a good job, they'll come running to me. But in reality, people are always going to do what's best for their interest. It has nothing to do about your interests or what you've done in the past. It's all about what you can do for them in the future. So if they meet Bob from Remax, that jackass, at a barbecue somewhere, and Bob brings perceived value to them, then they're going to work with him. That's why you got to keep them in that process. You have to treat them as if they were just a lead, and make sure that they're followed up on a regular basis, that they're treated like gold, and you don't take advantage of them or take them for granted, I actually might say. And a lot of the times we just don't think about it like that. We just assume, and we can't do that. Who said that to us? When someone says man, I can't believe my client listed with that other agent. Well, did you tell the client that they were yours? Because they don't think that way. Yeah. It's because you treated them not the same as everyone else. Because that buyer lead that's coming through the internet, man, you are on it like a fat kid on a cupcake. You are there, you're aggressive, But, your sphere, you're not. You sit back and relax, and that's where we fall flat on our faces on a consistent basis. Hey, and I'm not yelling at anybody. Fuck, I do it too. I mean, I'm very guilty of it. And I got so tired of listening to the Grand Master. Well, we had this person, the illustrator, that person, and that person, and this person. I'm like, shut the fuck up. If you let other people get into the database and do follow-ups like we talked about, we wouldn't have this problem. So we figured that out. And all of a sudden, we stopped having those conversations, and our clients were retained as our clients.
It's amazing how that follow-up actually helps your clients stay your clients. I like that.
It's just amazing. Absolutely mind-blowing. It's so weird.
Well, speaking of that, Kathleen, talking about lead conversion, especially like within an existing database, with the teams that you guys work with, what is the best thing you found for taking like the team leader's personal database, and when they start kind of pulling back from production, that's it. I think it should be one of the last things to go. But when they're finally ready to let go of that and start letting their agents kind of like turn over that personal database to their agents, what have you found works best for that kind of transition?
That's a good question. I mean, I've seen it done all different ways, which is probably why I'm hesitating. I mean, there's some teams who do it a lot earlier on because the team leader just is so swamped that they're starting to give out parts of the business, over to their first recruit, and they'll slowly realize, hey, I can't call all of these past clients. I'm going to give you a chunk of them, and if these people come in, then you get to work with them as well. I found it, I think actually, I'm just trying to make sure I'm being truthful. I don't think I've ever seen a situation where there was all the past clients taken and said, okay, now we're going to divvy this up to the team. It's always been a process over time. And I find that works well. I think where it can go sideways is when the team leader has the mentality that, we're going to retain everybody in the database, kind of just what Greg was saying. Like, you don't own anyone. You need to call, you need to connect. When the team's really aligned and they believe in each other, it's easier to call and say, hey, I'm calling from this team. We want to touch base, want to see how things are going. We'll use whatever script that they have to stay connected. Then it's good. But I find a lot of the time, if the teams aren't strong, the people feel awkward making calls to another agent's past clients. And having done it, I know once, like when you get in the mentality that, hey, you have a structure that works and gives you results, you don't care, right? You just pick up the phone. I've called tons of people's past clients that were assigned to me after people left when I was selling and had no problem with it. But I've also known many teams where they find out that the other person isn't actually calling. It's like, well, they're not my past clients. I've never talked to them. I think it's awkward, and now it's like 2 years later and these people haven't had a call. So, I mean, I think the most effective is when you really nurture the belief of, you're leveraging the full team. This is why we're making the calls. This is what to expect. Because often, like when people don't feel comfortable, they don't tell you and they just opt out. And that's when
that's so true.
Most of a mess, right?
Yep. Yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah, and that's for a leader, that's extremely frustrating when you've assigned something and you think it's all just happening, and then you find out whether hopefully it's not a year in or 2 years in, hopefully it's a month in or 2 months in, you find out that that is just not being done because there's some sort of and this leads right into what we're going to talk about because it's all mental roadblocks and I was listening to Adam Carolla yell about this essentially on his podcast, which is always interesting. Talking about, when you give instructions to somebody and let's say they follow through with about half of it, 75% of it.
Yeah.
Like it's very easy as the leader to sit back and go, well, they're just not, they're not listening. They're not, they're not following through. Usually when you dig into it a little bit, there's some sort of fear or mental roadblock on the part of the person that's been on the receiving end of the assignment. They're not telling you that. They may never tell you that. But when you actually dig into it, you find out, okay, so this is why you did 1, 2, and 3, but you didn't do 4 and 5. And now I know why, because there's some sort of mental roadblock. And so that's why I want to talk about that today. So let's jump into that conversation. Kathleen, just from a kind of 10,000 foot level, what are some of the things that you've noticed in your practice tend to hold people back, whether it's from, accelerating their production or just building a successful business?
I think, I can't really even say how much work we do with mindset when people are expanding their business and expanding, into teams and whatnot. And I've really found, like, I call it a set point thing. So we do a lot of work once we've set goals or done a vision for the year, where I'll work with some of my clients to come up with what I call like a goal style affirmation. And some of them will, frame it. It's on their desk. It's at home. It's all over the place. Like, it's something that they value. It's not just stuck in a a file. And what we actually do is we take the time to really envision, you know, the ideal of somebody who could reach their goals, somebody who is acting on it, somebody who's in a positive place, you know, and we don't limit it to business. We never do. I believe in holistic, you know, we're performance strategists. I'm trying to support people in having the life that they want to have, and team's a great environment for that. A lot of the teams I work with, that's something they feel really good about, that they support, you know, personal development, not just professional. So we try to cast out, you know, what's that vision. And I find, why I'm bringing this up, I find that the big hurdle is often there's this break between what they envision a person who could achieve their goals and where they're at now. Either it's a confidence thing, they don't think they can put it into place. It's a belief thing, because, I mean, research shows again and again, the number one indicator that people will take action is belief. The second is, do the people around you believe in it? So it's pretty clear that, you know, hubs of strong associations are pretty important. But it's also sometimes, like, I've hit it where the vision that some of my clients have had of somebody achieving their goals are not someone they like. Yeah. And that was really, it kind of took me by surprise. Like, I've had people where, like, we keep drilling down and going deeper and deeper into, okay, well, how would this person set up their life? You know, how would they see their children? How would they eat? How would they shop? How would they do, like, everything? Like, what's the ideal of how you envision this person? And I've had clients actually say to me, this person's not a good mother, this person's not a good husband, wife, this person's not good to their team. Like, there's some type of limiting belief of, can I be successful and feel congruent and good in all areas of my life, right? Or do I believe I can do it? So it was really amazing for me when I started to take the time with my clients to really peel that back and reset it. And it was so fulfilling for me, first of all, because they all of a sudden could see themselves as being capable of being successful. And, you know, for some of them being a good person in other areas of their life that was vital, right? So that's been a big one.
You know,
that's huge.
We were working with my coaching client today, Ryan and Monica, and Ryan came from the medical background. He's been a nurse for a number of years, and getting into the real estate side, getting into business, he changed his mindset when I first started working with him. He's made massive leaps and bounds in all positive areas, and he really wants this green Rolex, like presidential green Rolex. He has it. He knows exactly what it's going to cost, the whole thing. But he changed his mindset from about 2 years ago when he thought that success meant douchebag and slimy human being, to now success for him is in a different light. And once he made that mental shift, like you were talking about, it was now okay for him to be successful. He doesn't have to be the douchebag driving the Porsche with the Miami Vice gold chains and Rolex. He can still be the good person.
Greg.
Ferrari, Lambo, whatever, luxury vehicle. You're like, hey, asshole, I got a Porsche.
I'm proud of it.
Okay, so we'll pick on me. The Mercedes S550 with the 20-inch rims, okay? We'll pick on one of my cars. Driving that around. It's just whatever it is. I mean, once you start seeing success through a different filter, people, then you'll start being okay with being successful. And money will only amplify who you are at a core. So if you're an asshole, you're going to be an asshole with money. If you're a good person, you're going to be a good person with money. It doesn't really matter. But it's just, like you said, it's the shift. But once that shift takes place, then they can start growing. That's all I have to say.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think a lot of agents are surprised / turned off, maybe even disheartened by the fact that money is not moral. And Dan Kennedy has some amazing stuff on this in his wealth attraction, just like what really attracts wealth. And I think that bothers a lot of people at a fundamental level, and it kind of gets in the way of them being successful. They're bothered by the fact that money isn't attracted to the most moral, the most ethical people. Now, there's a case to be made that good morals is good economics, and I believe that that's absolutely true. Our profits client first and before us. That's kind of a fundamental belief. But that's not the only thing that money is attracted to. So money is attracted to confidence, belief, and there's all kinds of other factors money is related to and kind of interacts with and is attracted to. And so you can have people who are not moral, that we would say are not moral, not ethical, not likable people that we want to be around, and they can be wildly successful. And so then that links some things up in our mind that I think makes a lot of agents, I think it trips a lot of us up. So that is something that I've noticed that I think we need to, it's like, Kathleen, you'd almost have to work with somebody one-on-one to kind of like uncover some of these associations, because we may not even know that they're there. I mean, it's taken me a while to kind of uncover some of the things about myself from my like religious background and stuff. Some beliefs that my parents had, probably their parents had. I think that's one of the values of coaching, is that there's some things that we're just really blind to, and those like associations from 20, 30 years ago are some of those things. So I'm betting that they come out, if you're strategic about it, they come out in coaching sessions where they may never coming out from just navel gazing and like just thinking and internalizing all this.
Navel gazing?
Yeah, navel gazing, just looking inward.
Oh, I was going to say, I'm not going to ask what that is right now.
Well, I mean, we can gaze at other people's navels, but that's not what I'm talking about. Yeah, no, we're talking about looking inward and being all introspective. Like, I love being introspective, but I think there's some things that only come out like in conversation with somebody that's skilled at like asking the right questions.
Oh, well, yeah. People always give away what they believe. If they relax and you're listening, it's like, it's the quote. I always think Walt Whitman quote, right? I find myself on the verge of a usual mistake. When I forget myself, I show up as I am, right? You just need to listen. And it happens.
You know, I think going back to the whole 20 to 30 years back, why do we do things, you know, that are so far back? This is the old analogy of the ham that we've talked about on air. You know, why does this family cut both ends of the ham off? And the daughter's looking at the mother going, Mom, why do you cut both of the hands off? She says, well, that's the way it's always been done. So then the mother goes to her mom goes, Mom, why'd you cut the ends of the ham off? She says, well, that's the way it's always been done. They go to the grandmother, and the grandmother, why did you cut the ends of the ham? Why is it like a flavor thing? Why did we cut the ends of the ham off? She's like, well, because it wouldn't fit in the oven. It had nothing to do with the ham or flavor or anything else. It's purely because it wouldn't fit in the oven. So she lopped off both ends. Then it was put down, taught to the rest of the family as the family grew, and it was just what you did. And that's what comes back to my mental mindsets and moving through the blocks. If someone just is a negative place because they were told they couldn't do it by their grandfather, their father, whatever lineage it is, it doesn't mean it's true. It just means that it's someone's belief. And you can change that belief like that if you make a decision to do it. But you have to have that drive to do it.
Yeah,
so, I mean,
and oh, go ahead.
No, after you. I was done ranting.
Well, it's amazing to me how many times, because I still do a lot of consult calls here, like anybody 100 deal plus, I do the consults, but because I just like to connect with them. But it's amazing how many times people have said to me, I really want coaching, Kathleen, or I really want, this support, but I don't want any of that mindset stuff. I don't want you to get into any of the other stuff. Like, don't even touch it. I'm listening. I'm going, okay, like often when we think we have a business problem, we have a relationship problem, right? With ourselves, with our team, with, at home, whatever it is. And sure enough, like those same clients, when you get into it, it's always other blocks, but sometimes there's pain behind it. And to me, I really love that the business coaching world in my surroundings, maybe it's not true, it's just who's around me, but has become much more holistic. And they're like, hey, you can't just look at your business as this little box. It's one piece of, a full puzzle, right? So how do we actually look at that? Because I find most people, when they finally see, okay, this is what's holding me back, and I didn't want to touch it because it was painful. Now I can be responsible. I can step into a much more powerful place and create something that I want to do. Because if something's difficult in your life, you avoid it, and you also don't have power, right? Like, think about it. Anything you don't want to face or talk about, it's so deeply unconscious. It's probably because you didn't feel powerful in that situation. And to me, it's amazing to see these little things come forth. I mean, this isn't everything I do in coaching, but it comes up. And all of a sudden they're seeing it and they're like, wow, exactly like you said, like they're doing the same thing that they were always taught without even realizing it. And they uncover and like, I can make a different choice. I am capable of that. That wasn't really true. So I find it really cool because we look at, prosperity, money, making money. Like we say, the amount you make is always a byproduct of the goal. So we set goals, to be a certain person, therefore to do certain things, and the byproduct is what you have. So if our goal is to sell 500 homes that year, the byproduct is the money, right? But the goal is to get there and who we're being and what our energy is involved. So I love when you're talking about, the morality of money. We look at it as value exchange. So if I need to make more money and I'm not, how am I showing up in my business? Am I showing up with enough energy to give enough value to the people around me that actually can make more money? So my goal was always, how can I learn more? How can I know more? How can I, approach a team and actually be able to help them with every single facet of growing their business? Like, to me, that's just amazing to be able to do that. So my business was driven by my client needs this and this client needs this. And how can I have these tools? And I found the more value I could offer, the more money I made. And I found the same thing with the teams that I work with. So we really like one-on-one for individual agents on the team. If they're showing up and they're going, well, I'm not making money. Well, where's your energy? Where's your passion, right? Where's your motivation? Where's your contribution? What is it for you? And let's align that with the business. And then we usually, not always, but we usually can do a little bit better.
Yeah, a lot of people, everyone doesn't believe, they don't believe in the fact that they have all the potential in the world. They self-limit themselves on the potential, and that's where they're starting off at the wrong gate. Because they say, well, I only have this much potential, when in reality they got this much potential, but they don't believe in themselves, and therefore it translates directly into the action that they take. They generally take very small action because they believe they have very small potential, which then gives them very small results, goes right over to their belief system and see, I told you I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And if they just flip the switch. Like, here's an example. So I've made it very publicly clear, and Matt has ridiculed me for this for years, that I've been single for a long period of time. And, and Matt's like, what the fuck? I didn't ridicule you. What? But the fact is, like,
you make me sound like a terrible, agoraphobic, mean person sometimes.
I do. I totally do. When in reality, he's the total opposite.
So Matt was poking fun of me for being fat the other day, and I told him, back off. Like, I had a few extra cupcakes.
But the fact is like, I made a decision the other day. I'm like, fuck this, dude. I want to go out in the dating world. One of my best friends in the world called me the laziest bachelor ever. He's like, you just wait for it to fall in your lap, don't you? I'm like, kind of. He's like, you're the laziest bachelor. So I said, okay, that's it. I'm going to take action, right? But I had a belief pattern that, because I took such a little action, I got little results, which then told me, like, well, it was difficult to go out in the dating scene. When in reality, when I wrote it out, like Kathleen was talking about, when I wrote it out, I've had success, when I go out and I approach, a lady, a girl, a woman, whatever. And you know what? So I said, fuck it, man. I'm just going to try it. So check this out, dude. I'm so proud of myself. There was this ridiculously hot chick on one of these sites. I'm like, I went over her thing and it like popped up like, hey, I messaged her, right? So I hear a message. Guess when she messaged me? 2014. So I hit her up on a message. I'm like, fuck it. Here's my potential. I'm going to take massive action and see what happens. Dude, she hit me back like this quickly. And we're meeting up for drinks this week. And I don't care if I ever date her. That's never the fact. This is the point. I took massive action. I got massive results, which reinforced the belief that I can do what I want. So now I believe my potential's bigger, so I'll get better reactions and actions later and better results.
Yeah, and Kathleen, I think there's a good point buried somewhere within that very awkward story, which is
it's not awkward. It's not awkward at all.
I think like we struggle with, and a lot of this is just maybe not having the right coach, but we struggle with confidence, and then we don't know how to build the confidence, right? And I think that's one of the areas where you can probably, someone like you can see it from the outside and go, yeah, you lack confidence in this one area. Let's do these 3 things to help you build that confidence, and then that will solve that problem. So I'm assuming you kind of see that. What can people do, whatever the area is, but what can people do to kind of build that confidence so that they can start taking the action they wish they would take that they're not taking?
Well, I think first get inspired. I mean, it always starts with that. Who wants to take action when they're not inspired about something, and figure out why, right? Which sometimes takes some big questions. Like we all know, in business world, like somebody can cut through something really quick going, where do you want to be in 5 years or 10 years? And if they really, really want to be there and you ask them, okay, to get there in 10 years, what do you have to do today? What decision do you have to make? When they're stuck in the mud, they're like, I don't want to make this decision. I'm stressed. I'm upset. I don't want to do it. Yeah, well, what do you need to do today to get where you want to be 5 or 10 years? Most people who are confident with it, they can cut through and make very difficult decisions quickly with that frame. But I find when you're first starting, like I find it amazing. We do a letter from the future exercise, and I'm a huge believer in it. Yes. It's funny. I read an article. I sent it to somebody yesterday, and it was about Bruce Lee and about how he would write basically what I call letter from the future, like exactly what was coming to pass, how it would happen. And, that's what they took from it. They said, look at the extreme confidence, the level of belief, and the like almost this absolute commitment that if you do what you need to do, it's going to happen. And we do the letter for the future for a lot of good reasons. Like I find the first year I do them with the client, or they do it, they write them. But a letter from the future is a visualization process. So it's trying to align, our unconscious, conscious minds. But it's also for some of us who are very analytical, type A, left brain, which, at times in my life I have been. It can get you into that creative process, and it gets like you want to write it pen to paper, and it's writing a letter. Like today is May 16th, right? So I'd write May 16th, 2019, and write a letter back to myself as if it had happened. And I know there's lots of different coaching companies work with similar things or the exact same thing. And it's very powerful. It's for good reason. And we seal it in an envelope. For teams, we have everybody bring them in, they seal it, they put it in a folder. Somebody on their support team will say, hey, it's been a year, let's bring in a new letter, we'll open them. And it's amazing to me that people the first year, how many people come back to me just about that letter? Like, you know what? I had somebody just a couple months ago to stop me out of nowhere. I was in the brokerage for something else. Like, I just have to tell you, I wrote that letter, and, I ended up to have a parent pass away. I had, an illness happen, but I wrote, I was committed, and I still reached all my goals, even though those things came in. And I don't think I would have stayed the course if I hadn't have done so much work to visualize where I was going. And I find clients the same. They'll say the first year, maybe they'll reach 50% of it, right? The second year, maybe 60, third year, 70. And then by the time I get them to the third for some, fourth, fifth year for sure, they pay such reverence to that letter. They're like, no, like I trust in myself that what I put out there is going to come to pass because I realize I'm creating it. So, to build confidence, like take an educated risk. Like no one's telling you to, jump out of a plane or something like that, a bit extreme, but take small, educated, get inspired about what you want to do and give yourself really small steps, because the more that we take action on something, we flex that muscle that, hey, I can do this. And next thing you know, you're just like, hey, I have a goal right away, I'd act on it. I don't even think about it. And be nice to yourself, because we know like the 98% versus 2%, right? Like it's people theorize that 2% of the population actually do believe in themselves, have confident mindset, they do take action, and the rest of the world doesn't get it. So they're going, what's wrong with you? What are you doing? Like a lot of my family don't understand that, like implement, take action right away, but it's something I've worked on for years and years. And I see it with my clients as well. So like be nice to yourself and think, hey, if I do these first little steps, I'm actually nearing to myself and I'm capable. Next thing you know, you're taking massive steps.
So question for you, do you write yearly letters, or do you write 5 years in the future letter, or do you write both letters?
I do 5-year and 10-year vision statements, but I write 1 year in the future letter. And sometimes if I feel like our market right now, because we're located around the GTA, which is Toronto, and we had a really unusual first quarter, like very, very off. Last year, we had a really high seller's market. This year, our first quarter was like almost a standstill in comparison. So I have a lot of clients where this week we're talking about, okay, we're writing a new letter, because they're at a point where they're gaining momentum. They're doing everything they need to do. Some of them will fully catch up. They'll have a really crazy second, third quarter, but they'll catch up. But we're at that point where if I hear them start to say, I don't know if I can still reach my goal, I don't know if I could be on track, it's like, you need to pause and go back, because the visualization creates the belief. So let's go back and reset it, reaffirm. And if you have to make some changes, great. So if they're feeling off, if I'm feeling off, like I will write it, mid-year, but always once a year for sure.
I've told the story before. When Matt and I first started the podcast, I put a whole breakdown of where things would work and what I wanted to see, how our team was working out and everything else. It's coming to pass almost exactly the way that I wrote it out 3 years ago. And so I'm a huge believer in that. And I actually, right here, where is it? On the back of one of these sheets, I wrote down a bunch of the way, like, you're not going to be able to read this. I can barely read it. But, it's chopped up on what my future is going to look like when it comes to, being in and doing different shows, and, something that I need to write out physically, but I say, to myself out loud in the shower every day, is a whole mantra. And I visualize it being written on my wall, that I, Greg McDaniel, have a break out of the box, successful, podcast, radio show, and TV show that touches tens of millions of people on a monthly basis, that allows them to live their version of success, that they are I got to educate, inspire, and entertain them. And my annual income is $50 million. I say that and I visualize it. I write out the 50 million in my fingers on the wall, but I need to actually write it out, because I know that it will happen. And when I wrote that, started about a year and a half ago, I didn't have any. We had the podcast. It's grown since then. But starting in June, I have a legit radio show on the biggest talk radio station here in the San Francisco Bay Area that's starting, and it's taken off. Next stop is going to be the TV show. And that's the thing. It's like, if you just believe in it, and if you write it out and you make it clear in your mind, because up here is so cluttered, you've got to put it pen to paper. Kathleen, I couldn't agree with you more. People say, well, I'll just keep it up here. No. Get it out of there. Make it crystal clear. Make it so refined that you can feel it, touch it, smell it, hear it, taste it. Everything about it is real. All senses are firing. Your subconscious mind will push you through, wherever you are now to that new reality if you focus and put positive energy on it on a consistent basis. It's amazingly powerful and it's so simple to do, but people don't do it because I think they're possibly afraid of their own success. Like, man, if I really do it, would I be a douche? No, you're going to be the same person just with more money. That's all. So, I mean, if you're Johnson, you're still going to be an agoraphobe shut-in, but he'll have more money, so he can buy more bottles to
right.
Pete.
I'll have a nicer room. John Mercury, which Kathleen might be one of your clients, says, Kathleen, the letter from the future we did in November is playing out in real time. It's pretty wild. That's awesome.
Yeah. Kathleen, have you ever heard of success parties? I think who did it? Darren Hardy, I think, throws a success party, or he used to. Like he would do big events, but the success parties would be where you would go and the entire party, you would act as if you were your perfect version of where you wanted to be, and you would just walk around as that person. So a celebrity or uber successful or whatever that would look like, you just be that in real time in the party and interact with other people who are being where they want to be. Like one guy wanted to be, dating all the major celebrity, actresses. So he's walking around like, look, Jen, I can't call you back. Jen, look, I love you, but this isn't working out. I'm going to go talk to to pick another celebrity. And I just laughed. I'm like, that's pretty funny. Just people go in these different places in their minds. But he saw himself there. That's the cool part about it. Yeah. If we could just do that more often.
Well, yeah, and I think you said something important about some people won't write down the letters. And, in NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming, it doesn't really matter, but we call it secondary gain, right? So it's the idea that, and I have people focus on this in the letter, so I'm really glad that you brought it up, because I always say to them, don't just write down what you want, write down what you're willing to sacrifice for it. Like, tell me what pain you're willing to take. What are you willing not to do in order to have this come through? Because some people need to have like really difficult conversations, right? They need to stop associating with the same people. Some people over time have needed to have some really hard, straightforward conversations with a spouse, right, or loved one. And some people just can't face the idea of making those changes in their life. And I think there's two sides. Like, it's so powerful, like you said, to make a decision. And I believe still, like, the energies that be, if you think it's because we radiate at a certain energy, or you believe it's spiritual, or you believe the universe, whatever you believe is fine, but make a decision and things will flip your life upside down to give you those opportunities if you're committed to it. I was on I was on a radio show in Ireland, and she asked me, if you had to give one piece of advice to entrepreneurs, what do you think it would be? And I said, unless you can, like, it's a metaphor, but unless you can stand in a dark room with no one around you, no support, nothing beside you, and feel completely committed to your vision internally and be willing to do it for days, weeks, months, years sometimes, then you don't really have what it takes at that point to do what's necessary in entrepreneurship. Like, you have to have it so real and vivid in yourself that it's going to manifest around you, and other people can't touch you that way. Because it's like, I'm good, I'm committed, I'm going to do what it takes. I don't even really have room for your, the naysayers and the criticism and all the complaints that can take us down.
Yeah, a lot of people will want to take you down because they don't want to see you succeed, because if you succeed at your high level, that means they are not succeeding in their life. And so they're going to pull you back down to the muck and in darkness. And I mean, for us, Matt and I have a very distinct goal, and I've made it very public. I'm going to put 25,000 people or more on our EXP team before, in 5 years or less. Audacious? Yes. Am I committed to it? 100%. And it's amazing, Kathleen, as I've made these statements, that people are coming out of the woodwork to help and support. Some major players in this business had raised their hands and said, Greg, Matt, we are going to join your team. I mean, players that we never saw coming. And so with these different influencers out there that are going to join us, I guarantee you, within 5 years or less, we will hit our 25,000 people. And then it will just catapult from that point on. And it's so big that it scares me, but I'm in the dark room, and I know where I'm going. People sometimes don't know where they're headed. And do you have people write down their goals and dreams and stuff, but you write them down in the present tense, not the future tense? I'm assuming you do something along those lines.
Present tense, yeah.
Yeah. Elaborate on that, on how powerful that is. Because some people just say, well, I want a new car, or someday I'll have a big house, or blah, blah, blah. Go walk down the difference of that, because that's the game changer for people's mindsets, in my opinion.
Yeah, I love the some days, right? Someday, I'm like, no.
Someday.
If it's a someday goal, we're not writing it down. You have to move it, delete it, delay it, or delegate it. If it's a someday goal, it's not on the list, right? Yeah, I think it's so powerful. You're reinforcing to yourself who you are and what you're going to do. Like just writing it in the present tense, affirmative, is already, your brain already wants to take action. Like you can just feel it. Right? The minute you write it down, you say it out loud, it's like, okay, I need to do something about this. And we do associated questions with the goal. So every time we write a goal, and associated questions, such a little thing, but when I started to do a lot of research on what really helps people get motivated, what helps people achieve goals, and I share that with them, I'm like, that's why we write it this way, because we know some people set goals and some people achieve goals. How they do it, night and day. So we don't want to pay any attention on just setting goals. We want to do it in a way that people have achievement. So we look at writing it as if, and the associated question is a little thing. Like if we have an affirmation, but our brain doesn't believe it. Like I say to myself right now, I'm a billionaire, right? My brain's gonna be like, really? Yeah, that's great. Like we're happy for you, but yeah, it's gonna shut. Like you're not opening for ideas. Whereas if I say to myself, how am I so easily becoming a billionaire? How are things so easily, it could be millionaire, whatever. I'm just picking anything, right? Mm-hmm. How am I so easily selling 100 homes a year individually as an agent on the team? How am I so easily doubling my center of influence repeat referral percentage? How am I so easily attracting people to my team? Now your brain instantly is going, okay, I want to find connections. I want to find solutions. So some of my clients, when they have a goal that they're really not sure about, I actually have them write as many pages as they can to answer their associated question. And then once we're done, we're like, okay, look at how many ways you could achieve this goal. The power is in picking the specific ones with laser focus, testing it. If it's working, great. If it's not, replace it with something else. And it amazes me, like, I love them seeing how many options there are actually to achieve something. Because my brain, when I was young, was wired a little bit weird like that. It was always like, how can I figure this out? How can I make this happen? Which got me in trouble sometimes, but that's fine. And I think it's yeah. But it's a powerful thing to be like, if you can be relentless and audacious and say, hey, guess what? Yeah, that's who I was yesterday, but I'm committed. This is who I am today. It's a pretty powerful force. So that's just one of the questions that we help with. And we do SMART goals, but not just Stephen Covey's. We do the NLP version as well. Mm-hmm. We combine it because mindset, our minds, how we speak and how we communicate is how we create belief in our world. Yeah. So we can change belief in our world with language as well. So yeah, I think it's very, very important.
So Kathleen, we have one of our show favorites, my dear friend Veronica Jones. She's in Texarkana, Texas, and she has a goal to do 10 million in volume. She's an ISA right now, to do 10 million in volume from 1 year right now. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing. She took on $865,000 of listings last week by just going and popping by. So to get her into a different state and, to get her brain working, what are some questions you would say specifically for someone who wants to go from ISA to agent and moving into a higher dollar productive area and, doing it within, less than 1 year? How could she start shifting her mind right now?
I would say looking into just the questions you said, like the set point. Your set point is, how do you see yourself now? The minute that you shift that and say, okay, well, who do you know who already is achieving that? What habits do they have? What characteristics? What routines do they have? How do they manage their time? How do they make decisions? How do they dress? How do they communicate, right? And the beautiful thing is, sometimes when people hear those types of questions, they're like, yeah, but that's modeling somebody else. It's not. Everything that we say in communication is a mirror. If I ask you all these things about somebody who's achieving all of that you want, you will naturally mirror back to me what you value, the characteristics that you want that are important to you. And then we can create that set point where every single time you have to make a decision, you ask myself, okay, what would that person do? Okay, how would they handle this? Or sometimes in my business, I'll say, how would the best leader handle this? How would the best leader take this situation and actually make it into, a better relationship with this person or a better long-term opportunity given what's happening? So I find those questions are very, very important. The other thing you said is state. I find for those who are agents or ISA, state management is massive, and people who understand it, they're so ahead of the game, right? Like we know there's two things most correlated with our state or state of mind, and that's either our physiology, how our body feels, or our mental state. So we have the two options. Like we can have focused thought, we can have meditation, we can do affirmations, and that's gonna mix with our physiology, release chemicals, and we're gonna process everything in our day based on that. Or we can, do like some people do power poses, right? Or go for a run, go for yoga, like stay physically fit. Both of those things impact. So if we understand, we can really quickly go, okay, how do I make an adjustment? Because I find when people are switching, like I say to sales, a lot of it is also, okay, then this problem happened. And then this person yelled at me. I had somebody today go, I just got off the phone with an agent screaming at me. And I'm totally, I'm sorry, I'm totally not myself. Well, if we understand that something happens and it's only like 12 minutes that our body's actually physically responding to it, it gives us a lot of power to go, you know what? Anything can happen in my day and I can instantly do a reset and get back on track and be in the ideal state of mind. I can go back to that place. Like I always say to people, there's a beautiful ideal state of mind where I can communicate with my son, no problem. And there's about 99 million where I cannot. So understanding that gives me a lot of power in my life, a lot. And there's other people, right? So if I take responsibility for that as a coach, I've got more states that are very successful because I can adapt, right? But understanding that allows us to take responsibility and go, hey, like if I know if I'm in this perfect place, I'm going to have my best performance. I have control over that. It's not by accident leading up to summit or leading up to other events. I do like 3 to 4 times the exercise. Like some people are like, you under stress? I'm like, no, I'm not under stress. I need more power. I need more energy, right, to put these things through. So I build it up in advance because I know I need it. It's state management.
It's really good.
That was a hell of an answer.
Yes, it was.
I was going to say, I don't know if I answered you, but that's what you have.
So one of the things I wanted to point out that was that I think people may have missed in something you said earlier was the willingness to sacrifice. And we tend to think of sacrifice in terms of I would say like deprivation, right? So sacrifice in terms of, okay, well, if I want 6-pack abs, I have to sacrifice cheeseburgers. And that's true. But we tend to look at sacrifice as giving up negative things. We way overlook the fact that most of the time sacrifice, especially if we're sacrificing for success, it usually isn't a matter of giving up things that we already know are bad for us. It's giving up the good in favor of the great. And that's really hard. There's a lot of things that we could do. And I think there was somebody that said it before him, but Derek Sivers pointed it out again. He said, you can have anything you want. You just can't have everything you want.
Yep.
Right? Now, that doesn't mean we can't have a very holistically balanced life. That's not what that's talking about. But we can't be everything we have the potential to be, because the only way to be what we have the potential to be in one area is to throw ourselves and really focus on that area. So if we want to be a wildly successful real estate team leader, that probably means we're not going to realize our lifelong dream of also being a professional surfer. Because guess what? They get in the way of each other, right? I know Greg is sadly disappointed. I know you're really looking forward to getting recertified in skydiving, but it's just going to have to stay on the back burner.
God, yes, it will.
Yeah. But and that's something that I've had to come to terms with in terms of being a musician. Like, you can't get wrapped up too much in having your identity hinge on something like that when it's time to like let certain things go and put all of your focus into one thing. And I think that holds a lot of people back. They have something in their life that their identity is tied to that thing. And the only way to move forward and really build a super successful business is to let go of that thing. And they spend a lot of time in conflict trying to hold on to those things that are good, but it's going to keep them from getting the great. If that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. And you have to know yourself. And this is the most difficult thing, because a lot of people want everyone to like them, and they want acceptance, right? They want to feel good enough. They want all these deep, deep things, and they're all good. But end of the day, I think the only way to be fulfilled is to know yourself and say, these are my values. This is what's important to me. And when other people try to give me input, if their values are different than mine, that's great. I'm respectful of them, but they're not going to have my ear. That's not going to happen, because I've chosen my values and what I'm committed to. So I like the metaphor I use with my clients, or sometimes in speaking, is let's say every single day you have 100 pennies. That's all you have. Like, if you were actually aware of that, would you spend the time that you do the way you do now? Right? Like, I have people who, it's real estate, right? Like, divorce rate in US is probably similar to Canada, but it's very, very high in the real estate industry. And it's like, well, end of the day, like, if we're not giving any of the pennies, to our spouse, to our children, to our business, if we're showing up in our business and our energy isn't there, our mindset's not there, well, yeah, you're not going to make money. You're not going to be able to build extra. Like, when I left my old company, I came to this company, I talk about a lot that I mentally made a commitment I made a massive commitment that for 2 years, I was going to do nothing but build this business. So it was like, you know, I joke, I'm like, no dancing, no margaritas, no fun, no dating, Greg, no dating, nothing. So it was like 2 years.
Awful.
2
Why would
years.
anyone want to do that? Oh,
Yeah.
God.
Well, yeah. But, and because like, yeah.
Well, yeah, duh.
I still travel. But that's the thing, because I left the other business. I was like, I'm committed. First of all, I was a little bit scared, but I was also committed. I said, I'm going to put my head down. I'm going to work. Like, I know how to do that. I can work, no problem, and build. And sure enough, like within a month and a half, I already reached my target for clients for the year, and then filled another coach, etc. And I just kept doing it. And it wasn't by accident, I think, that right around 2 years, I started to not feel good. Like energetically, something shifted. I got vertigo. Weird. Like, I'm very healthy. I didn't feel good. And again, it was the best thing that could happen, because again, I said, how can we scale the business? Because we're not going to run it like this. Like, we built it quick enough, but now it has to be capable of having like 1,000 times the clients or more than we have right now. So it shifted, but that's the thing. Like, what level of commitment are you willing to make, or what level of sacrifice? And I probably don't recommend you should do it to the extreme that I did, but it was worth it. Would I do it again now? No, now I'll have a life, but then I did it. Yeah. And I was willing to.
Well, I mean, I've committed similar to what you were talking about. I've known in my past that I had to put my head down and I had to just grind and not look up and compare myself and see what other people are doing, because I'm the only one that's in charge of my future. And if I let someone else dictate what my future is going to be like, I couldn't live with that. So I took sacrifices. You know, I would never say I wouldn't do it again, because I have known from a young age I want to be a billionaire. I don't know why. I've never wanted kids. I've never wanted to have like little rugrats running around. It's just not for me. You know, if it happens, it happens. That's fine. But if my primary goal, don't give me that weird look, Johnson. Huh?
If it happens, it happens. That's fine. I'm like, no.
And that's like, don't you cuss at me. But I mean, I have my goal. I've always wanted to be, you know, I've always envisioned myself like winning an Oscar, because I've always wanted to be on either TV or movies. It just intrigues me, you know. So I'm going towards that goal. That's why I say that to myself every time I'm in the shower. And I think that when you're 100% clear on that, like you said, write down your future letter, write down your goals in the present tense, review them daily, not weekly, daily. We have a guy that's going to be coming back on our show, and what he actually did was he wrote down his goals on a piece of paper. He has an alarm on his phone that would go off every hour on the hour. He would then go read his goals again, and he would then, guess what happened? The time to success came together much faster than it would have if he didn't consistently keep it front of mind. So how often do you have people review their goals, by the way?
Well, we have a structure for that. Big surprise, but
wow.
Well, you need to, because that's a big part of it, just the focus, right? If we have focus, we'll do what we need to do. And most of the time we forget and we go back into that kind of like zombie mode, right? So ours, we write them for the year, obviously, and then we do quarterly review, but we also weekly, we'll talk about where we're at. If we're on track at the end of the month, we'll update. So we talk about our business plans, our goals as a living document, right? So it's like, if it's if it's sitting on a shelf and it's getting dusty, it's doing nothing, as we all know, but how do you make it a living document? Like, how do you take pieces of that and integrate it into your whole life so it's just always there? So our last step is always to put it in our calendar. So we do a perfect week. So we have all of our goals, and the task will be, okay, go through every single one of your goals and ask yourself whatever number of weeks you're going to work in the year, whatever, 46, 49, some of them like 52, great, better you than me. But go through all of the goals and ask yourself, what would I have to do on a daily or weekly basis that I could be on autopilot? So how do we get up to that cruising altitude where you're on autopilot? If you do this, 49 weeks of the year, not only will you reach your goal, but you'll be at your optimal. That's the catch. Because some people take the goals, they put it on this perfect week, and they can't sleep, they can't eat, they're going to be burnt out. Like, their trajectory is to burn out, and that is not a successful plan. So it allows us to say, hey, I'm not telling you to switch your goal, but I'm saying, how can we be more efficient? How can we leverage, get on track? And anything that's not a habitual goal would go, like, we do steps. So that goes into our actual calendar. Because in the past, I had clients kind of move to work with me, and I'd say, okay, how did last year go? They go, okay, I almost hit my business goals, whatever it is, like a new client. And I'll say, how were your personal goals? And they're like, oh, I don't know. Did you reach them? And they'll send them to me. I'm like, which ones did you do? Nothing. Absolutely nothing, because they just focused on the business goals. And I was like, no, if you're setting a goal, it's important to you at the end of the year, you want to be fulfilled. So we do it for all of it. Our perfect week has, like our fitness goals, our spiritual goals, our energy, our business goals, our ideal, how many appointments do I need to meet? How many are book, how many meet, how many sign? Like, it's our ideal vision of how the perfect week would play out. So it's always there with us because it's on our calendar, and we reset it if we reset goals or annually.
I found that like that what you're talking about now, if your goals become impotent and they mean nothing to you anymore, and just kind of it's like dragging a weight right behind you, you're like, it's just not my shtick anymore. I found that it's totally okay to cut that out, let it go, and stay true to what resonates with you, and you can add it back in. But it's also okay to let things go. You don't have to say, these are my goals, and then halfway through the year you're like, this goal sucks. I totally don't like. I thought I wanted to do this, and it totally blows. Well, it's okay. Cut it out, throw it away. Just keep moving. It's that simple. But we always beat ourselves up and put too much energy and thought into making it the perfect goal list. And when you set goals, and Kathleen, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I always say to everyone who asks me about how to set goals, I say set goals that are true to you. Not true to Bob or to Matt or to me or to you. If someone wants the yachts and the Ferraris and the houses and the planes and the helicopters and the hot chicks on the yacht, if that's what gets them all hot and bothered, cool. But if what gets you all excited is riding a rusty bike through South America to your ice cream stand that's on the cliffs overlooking the ocean, and that's where you work every day, and that's your version of awesome, then write that down. Don't write down what other people's version of success means, because you'll never get there because you won't be happy doing it.
Or if you get there, you won't be happy either.
Exactly.
No problem.
I have the yachts. I'm totally miserable. I'd rather be on my bike. Damn this money and success. And why are there all 10s on my boat? Who ordered this? I can't imagine this.
Oh, man. All right. Well, on that note, so Kathleen, what's the best way for folks if they are interested in connecting up and kind of learning more about what you guys do in the coaching and consulting part? How do they reach out and connect?
Yeah, they can. Well, our website is www.ittakesa.team. We have events. We have Ultimate Team Summit in November, and we have in June coming up the Ultimate 100 Deal Plus Mastermind, which I love because it's just for team leaders, team managers, or team director operations for teams that do 100 deals or more, which, in the team world is not that high of a cutoff. But what I like about it is it brings together producers, are selling 100, 200, 300, 600,000 homes a year in one venue just on their own, where they can be open, they can brainstorm. And we do this, like we have people come in and specialize in culture, communication, values, recruitment, lead generation. Like it's people bringing their top strengths. So it's the best of the best in a room. So that one's almost sold out, but that's in Muskoka, which is a beautiful area of lakes, basically, in Ontario and Canada. And then Ultimate Team Summit is in Niagara Falls. So it's where people bring, their entire team, like their ISAs, their admin, again, managers, team leaders, top salespeople. And we have multiple teams where, the people on the teams are selling 80, 90, 100 homes each within. So same thing. We do holistic achievement. We have sessions, masterminds for every single spot on a team, and we do a ton of online training. So that's on our website as well. And our training program is basically taking, all the things that I found gave people most success over the years of coaching and putting it into like a group platform. So it's also, mindset and conversion and consultations and all of that. So yeah, the best way to connect is our website, or we're all over social media, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. I keep trying Snapchat, but I just can't figure it out. All the wrong it's not good. So one day I will figure out Snapchat, but we are technically there. So yeah, they can engage with us at any of those spots.
Very cool.
I'm with you. Snapchat,
Yeah.
I understand it, but I don't understand it at the exact same time. I get it, but I don't.
Yeah. Well, I'm just really tired of getting uncomfortable pictures from you, Greg. That's really the bottom line. I don't want to see like another picture of your cat. Like, okay.
Matt, look, there's a cat. There's one of Sudi and one of Bandito. You got to set them apart. Look, they cannot show favorites, okay? They know when Matt only sees Sudi and not Bandito, and Bandito gets pissed at Sudi. It's very, very bad.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I have cat wars, man. Cat wars.
My God. All right. Now, Greg, how do people, if they want to be one of the cat parade, if they want to join the McDaniel Real Estate System, How would they reach out and connect with you?
Cat Parade. Hashtag Cat Parade is the new show's new hashtag. Guys, go to bookmcdaniel.com. You see it right at the bottom of your screen, right there in all caps. If you guys are listening to this on the podcast, go to bookmcdaniel.com. We have a Kim Kardashian ass of value. I can explain to you behind everything that EXP already offers you. Multiple masterminds, multiple products, multiple coaching opportunities, all at zero cost when you join our EXP team. If you guys are thinking about EXP, please come over and talk to me. Don't hesitate. I mean, seriously, don't wait. Go to bookmcdaniel.com. Come join me. Come to me, my child. Okay, that got weird. But come on over, hang out. Matt, back to you.
Yeah, well, and speaking of which, so I think Canada is actually the next country that EXP is opening up. And so we'll be in Canada, then we'll be in Australia, down under, and then there's some people that are going to link up with us down there and hopefully open that country to EXP, which would be awesome. So, I mean, one of the things that I see is a lot of the top performing, at least here in the States, a lot of the top performing KW teams and independent brokerage teams are moving over because they already have their own office space. They're already kind of setting up their own structure outside the brokerage. So it makes financial sense to switch over. So yeah, if you're that type of person, you're in that situation, you're an indie broker or a team leader already, there's going to be you're going to see a lot more people, especially if we have a major shift. There'll be even more people that will start to switch over. So start checking it out now and keep that option open to you. Because when you go through the next economic shift, one of the ways that you'll want to look to is like slashing the bottom line. And this is a great way to do it in addition to all the benefits that you get. So that was that. I just wanted to point out from a team perspective.
Absolutely.
For the show itself, first of all, thank you guys for watching, sharing. Make sure to share it with your fellow agents, your broker, whatever the case is. Spread the love. We appreciate it. Leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. Make sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts or Stitcher, depending on your device, or you can head on over to YouTube and get all of our episodes there. And you can also check out one of the things that we offer to our teams for free, but if you want to get this separately, you can, is our buddy Jeff Cohn in Omaha, who's a good friend of the show, does all of his team trainings live. The Wednesday and Friday dialogue and like deep dive trainings for his agents. You can actually be an interactive part of that and join effectively in his trainings remotely. So you can go to eliterealestatesystems.com and check out the live stream page to learn more about that. It is a ridiculous $17 a month, which is less than, I'm pretty sure it's my less than daily Starbucks bill. I think I'm up to going to Starbucks twice a day now.
Seriously?
Yes, it's a problem.
We gotta just have you just get your own coffee maker, man, because you got to put that money back.
I have. The sad thing is I have a all stainless steel French press at home. I actually make great coffee. I just would rather go to Starbucks and have somebody else do it. But that's okay. It's getting the book done. So anyway, guys, I think that's about it. So Kathleen, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. Want to honor your time, and we're super excited to have you back again.
Thank you. Pleasure, always.
So Kathleen, Matt, we have to pick a color for the bow. And Kathleen, what is your favorite color?
Blue.
Blue it is, Matt. You got to make it true, Matt. What color is the bow?
Let's put a blue bow on this episode.
All right, guys, there it is. That's the show. Reach out to Kathleen. You see how much knowledge she has. If you want more of that, go pay her money, and you'll get smarter and richer. But Kathleen, thank you for coming on. We love you guys to pieces. Thank you for coming and watching us. Thank you for listening to the show. It means the world to both me and Matt as we want you guys thrive and not just survive in your businesses and grow and live the life of your dreams. But until next time, peace out, ninjas! We go.